The Bafokeng-Bakwena trace their origins to Central Africa. As part of the Sotho-Tswana peoples, they migrated southwards over more than a millennium. Numbering no more than 300,000 people, the Royal Bafokeng nation has prevailed over great odds through much of its 800-year history in South Africa. The Bafokeng-Bakwena, as they are known, have survived tribal conflict, repelled invaders and imperialists over many centuries, and emerged in modern South Africa as a fully functioning traditional African kingdom within a Western-style constitutional democracy. Most remarkably, they are one of the few indigenous communities who own the land they occupied historically. They bought their land and have held onto it with single-minded determination for over 130 years. The Bafokeng-Bakwena ethnic group traces its lineage back more than 800 years. During their migrations from Central Africa, they crossed many rivers without the slightest intervention from Africa's feared crocodile. And so the Kwena, or crocodile, became the genealogical totem of the Sotho-Tswana peoples. According to oral tradition, the Bafokeng came upon an area that boded well for agriculture and animal husbandry. As the valleys among the hills in the area captured heavy overnight dew, the people realized it would be a fertile land and the community would prosper. So they decided to settle there, and in honor of the occasion, to take the name Bafokeng, literally meaning people of the dew. Then followed the years of conflict. Kgosi Thethe, who ruled the Bafokeng-Bakwena in the early 1800s, had suffered a stormy reign and eventually sought refuge with another tribe when his brothers turned against him. He requested the assistance of the Bapedi people to regain his kingdom and was finally killed for setting them against the Bafokeng-Bakwena. Before Thethe died, he warned his assassins that if they killed him, black ants will come to destroy them, followed by red ants riding animals with uncloven hoof. Tribal rivalries intensified into wider regional competition, and discord saw intruders from the south splitting into and around territory in which the Bafokeng-Bakwena lived, a phenomenon known as the Defekanda. This brought the black ants to the land of the Bafokeng-Bakwena. They were led by Mzilikatsi, an ambitious Zulu warrior who fled from the rule of Shaka in what is today known as KwaZulu-Natal. Mzilikatsi started a reign of terror that spread to the territory occupied by the Bafokeng-Bakwena. Those who did not flee became subjects of the Amandebele, but not for too long. For by the mid-1830s, the Red Ants arrived. The Red Ants came in the form of settlers of European descent who had moved inland from the Cape to escape British rule. Routing the Amandebele in January 1836 with the support of various indigenous groups, including Bafokeng-Bakwena people, the settlers forced Mzilikatsi to flee to present-day Zimbabwe. The ending of the Amandebele reign of terror coincided with the accession of Kgosi Mokgatle as king of the Bafokeng-Bakwena, enabling him gradually to regroup and resettle his people on their traditional lands. However, the settlers proclaimed vast tracts of land as their own by right of conquest, including land occupied by the Bafokeng, and laid the foundations of the South African Republic. They soon outlawed land acquisition by indigenous people on the grounds that the settlers will not permit any equalization of colored people with white inhabitants. In the early 1840s, settlers rewarded some Botswana kings who had assisted them against the Amandebele with limited grants of land. Paul Kruger, who later became the president of the South African Republic, gave a farm to the Bafokeng, apparently in appreciation for their help in driving out the Amandebele. Tensions between Bafokeng and Boer often reached breaking point, but they were not always confrontational. Indeed, Kgosi Mokgatle and Paul Kruger were often seen sitting, chatting, and drinking together, as one of Kruger's neighbors recorded that Paul Kruger and Kgosi Mokgatle were always in conclave. A rapid succession of events occurred that changed and shaped the course of the community's history. The first was a visit by Kgosi Mokgatle to the Kingdom of Lesotho, where he saw the work of missionaries and their advanced schooling system. Kgosi Mokgatle became more welcoming of missionaries, paving the way for the arrival of the Reverend Penshorn of the Lutheran Hermannsburg Mission Society in 1866. At about the same time, Kgosi Mokgatle's concern over the loss of land had reached the point where he called his people together to consider what action should be taken. The strategy that emerged was to buy land through the good office of the Reverend Penshorn, who would be the Bafokeng people's intermediary and who would hold their acquisitions in trust. More good fortune followed in 1869 with the discovery of diamonds in Kimberley, south of the land of the Bafokeng. An inspired Kgosi Mokgatle sent regiments of young men to work there with orders to repatriate their earnings, enabling the Bafokeng to buy more land. They purchased farms with cattle, often with additional funding from the mission. A notable acquisition in 1868 was one of Kruger's farms for £900, with the Bafokeng contributing cattle and Penshorn £70. When the British annexed the South African Republic in 1877, they changed regulations on African land ownership. Bafokeng land was registered in the name of the Secretary for Native Affairs and held in trust for communities. After leading his people for 57 years, the visionary Kgosi Mokgatle passed away in 1891. The full extent of his legacy became known only from the 1920s, when prospectors discovered that beneath the 2,000 square kilometer tract of land lay the world's second richest deposit of platinum group metals. The Bafokeng continued to purchase farms until the introduction of the 1913 Natives Land Act that severely restricted African ownership of land and paved the way for nationwide implementation of institutionalized segregation. Over the next 75 years, the Bafokeng eked royalties from mining groups working their precious mineral reserves, resorting to all legal means to secure their rights. The rest of the tale lies in how they have invested their mining revenues to build their own civil service answerable to elected and appointed community representatives under their hereditary Kgosi. And how, increasingly, they are investing their revenues to deliver a wider range of amenities and facilities to a community which has fought the good fight to secure its own piece of Africa.